Apologize for the technical difficulties, but we are going to go ahead and get started. So Faseela and I here are going to talk about how Izzy saves the birthday. And mostly importantly, we're going to show you a live demo after we briefly talk about the book. A little bit of introduction about me. I travel all the way from Cary, North Carolina on the east coast of America to here. And I work for Solo.io as a head of open source at Solo.io. I learned about this yesterday. We are the 10th largest contributor to all of the CNCF projects.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Faseela, a member of the CNCF TOC and a cloud-native developer at Ericsson. I'm also a CNCF ambassador and an LFX mentor, and also the co-author of the book we are going to discuss today. Yes, so many of you already know about the Phippy and friends. It's basically like a family of illustrated characters, which was initially designed and developed by Microsoft, but later was contributed to the CNCF. The basic purpose of Phippy and Friends is to demonstrate the Kubernetes concepts in a very basic manner so that it's easy for all of us to understand, not just us, but whoever is new to the cloud-native community, for them to understand in the most simple possible way. So earlier in 2024, so Istio Service Mesh, we also designed a Phippy character called Izzy. Izzy is the dolphin you see on the ship. So Izzy was designed, and the illustrations we contributed to the Phippy family. And ever since then, everybody was asking us, like, when are we going to have a story about Izzy and other Phippy and friends? So that's what we exactly did in Salt Lake City. The first book was actually released in the KubeCon at, I think, at the KubeCon SLC. The book was officially launched there, but then I was not able to travel there, so we both decided that, okay, we will do a book walkthrough here in London, and if possible, a book signing event also together with this. So we would like to sincerely thank the CNCF who helped us. We designed and we developed the story, but the whole support was from the CNCF side for the illustrations and design, so special thanks to that. And yes, so the story, when we started thinking about the story, and the plan was to release the story in SLC, so the first thing that came to our mind was about the 10th birthday of Kubernetes, and so we wanted to club the story in those lines, and so basically Istio Service Mesh is about security, so the story, we started developing it like Izzy saving the Kubernetes 10th birthday celebration. Yes, so we are trying to demonstrate the basic features of Istio Service Mesh with the simple concept of having a birthday bash and some pirates or intruders getting into the ship to steal some of the expensive birthday gifts. So the pirates steal some unattended invitation cards and make copies to enter the party. So this is what can happen in your cloud environment too. So if there are things which are not attended properly, there is a risk of identity being impersonated, and once the malicious applications or these pirates get hold of things, it's like it can be dangerous, and they can overhear your conversation to understand your secrets and things like that. So how do we solve this? So actually, these are like the pages from the book, but it's okay. Anyways, you're going to have this book free for download in the CNCF store. So we wanted to just have a book walkthrough here. So it's like the cloud-native community, similar to the Phippy family, have some proactive members who are actually always observing and monitoring what is happening in your ecosystem. So here it's Owlina. Owlina has already reported now that there are more members on the ship than who has registered. So, and she passes this information to Izzy and Captain Kube. So Izzy is a security master. So she already observes that there is some problem with the ship because the ship has many entrances and it is not secure by default. So just like our Kubernetes clusters. So now let's just take a pause and see how this maps to the service mesh concept and understand how the story so far is developing. So it's basically like Izzy represents the Istio service mesh. So what is a service mesh? So many of you already know. So it's basically like in the microservices architecture, when you have applications talking to each other, a service mesh helps you manage the communication between them. So basically, it's like you assume the ship in our cluster, and each family member is like talking to each other, and we are likely needing a mechanism to moderate their communication as the situation might go in danger. So that's what is being illustrated in this picture. So now we are getting into the zero trust architecture concept, so that is what Izzy is an ambassador of. So it's like Izzy is trying to educate Captain Kube about the importance of not trusting anybody by default. So because they may not be who they pretend to be. So that's what zero trust security is about. So once Izzy explains the seriousness of the situation, Captain Kube also decides not to trust anybody by default, and he also tells something. It's like Captain Kube has an idea to mitigate the situation. So let's enable service mesh, he says. All invitees are asked to go to the closed mesh party organized on the ship deck. And before you can go, you have to get your identities verified by the captain. So just as Captain Kube became the verifiable authority for everyone's identity, so identity in security architecture is also a very important concept which is required to be verified before the applications can transmit and receive the data securely. So this is like the first check, identity verification, which sometimes can still be bypassed. And that exactly happens in our story too. While one pirate was completely trapped because of this check, two others managed to get in by stealing somebody else's identity. So now we are getting into more of the Izzy Dolphin security capabilities. He is able to enable restricted communication policies between the guests, and he restricts the second pirate from talking as he did not identify him as he who really claimed he is. So now the third pirate, who bypasses all of these checks, managed to talk to some of the guests and understand like where the expensive birthday gifts are stored in the ship, and he decides to steal them. So far, the concept we learned after identity is like the access control, which are the policies which we can set in your system to manage communication between applications. This is what we can use service mesh to set to. So now we have learned about both identity verification and access controls enabled in the ship, but Izzy is not satisfied with all these things. He wants to monitor everything all the time live to make sure that everything is secure as expected. So that's where observability comes into picture. So he keeps on observing everything, and he could see that the pirates are trying to access the room with their badges. So yes, this feature, as you know, is called observability. This is again provided by the service mesh. So it allows you to observe what is happening in your cluster so that you can take immediate action if something is not really going as expected. So that's another thing. And the last feature, what we are going to talk about, is the traffic management. So Izzy is capable of dynamically changing the routes within the ship, which can completely trap the third pirate when he tries to retrace his route back to his boat. So it's like all exit routes are already modified by Izzy, and everything led the pirate to a cabin below the deck. So that is like So that's what traffic management is about. So you are able to control who is talking to where, and at the same time, you can control how they are going to talk, and you can also control the communication between the applications, and you can decide where the traffic should really go to. So, and this way, the Phippy and friends managed to expel all the pirates from the ship with the help of Izzy Dolphin's super capabilities, or the Istio service mesh features, which are like security, traffic management, and observability. And the party resumed. And that's all the story is about. It's a very simple story. It's like in the very basic concept so that even the kids can understand. So if you have kids at your home, so if they keep on asking you, like, what do you do at your work, and it's tough for you to explain, please use the book and please explain to them. And it's not just bedtime story for the kids, but in your office, if you have newcomers who wants to understand about these basic concepts, you can definitely use these terminologies to map. And now Lynn is going to do a demo so that you understand how it maps to the real world scenario.
All right, thank you so much, Faseela. So let's see Istio in action with Izzy. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's take an overview of the demo environment. So we're going to use Kubernetes, of course, Captain Kube. We're going to use Prometheus. I built the demo application myself using Python and Streamlit. We're going to use Kubernetes Gateway API. We're going to use the Kayali. And this is my cluster. Thank you so much for that smooth transition. I appreciate that. So I have the demo application deployed on my cluster. You guys can see in the back, right? Yes? All right. So I have the client application, which is a curl commands allow me to get into. I have the demo application, which interact with the large language model running outside of my Kubernetes cluster, which is also running locally on my machine through Llama. I also have two of my RAG module deployed, which I'll explain to you why I wrote those. And in my cluster, I also have Istio with ambient mode. For those of you who are not familiar with Istio ambient mode, it's the new data plane mode we introduced in Istio to enable you run service mesh, run your workload in service mesh without sidecar. So I have ambient installed. I have the Zero Trust Tunnel, which provides the layer 4 functionality, mutual TLS, simple authorization policy per node installed as part of ambient. I also have Kayali and Prometheus that I talk about installed. I also have a couple of waypoint proxy deployed. So the waypoint proxy, you can think about it, it's not a sidecar proxy. It's more about a gateway for your particular tenant scope you feel comfortable. In this case, the tenant scope is the namespace. So I deploy a waypoint proxy for my default namespace. And also I have an egress waypoint proxy that controls all the outgoing traffic to the external large language model, which is the Llama running on my machine. So to save us some time, let's take a look at the namespace. Oh, sorry, I probably did a typo here somewhere. Let me type. I think it's namespace.
So this is our ship.
Okay, so if you look at the namespace on default, I already have the namespace labeled with istio.io/data plane mode ambient. And I also specify for this particular namespace, I'm going to use the waypoint deployed in the default namespace. If you recall, we also have Istio egress namespace, and it has a namespace. It has a waypoint also there. So similarly, I labeled this namespace to be part of ambient and have specified this namespace to use the waypoint. So it's very easy, just label the namespace, no need to restart anything. All right, so let's jump into the demo application. Let me make sure I have the full forwarding set from Istio ingress gateway to my local port on 8099 because Wi-Fi is not great. So everything is running locally on my machine. So finger crossed, it would actually work fine. The second thing I want to show you is I do have a simple HTTP route configured on my machine. It's called demo HTTP route. So this is using the new Kubernetes Gateway API, and essentially configs the routes when the traffic arrives on the Istio ingress gateway. When it arrives on port 80, go ahead and forward to the backend of the demo service. So let's go ahead and visit the demo application. So this is the demo application. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chat with the Llama, which is running on my machine outside of my Kubernetes cluster. So we're going to ask, what are the top 5 things to do in London, since we're in London? So finger crossed, what's going to happen is the traffic's going through the Istio ingress gateway. Wow, that's fast. Then I talk and hit my demo application, which go ahead send the request through Istio waypoint on the egress because it's egress traffic. Then talk to the Llama on my local machine. So it says a couple of things. So who actually visits some of these places? I assume most of you. At least one place? All right, so this is great, right? The next thing I want to ask is, what is ambient mesh? So we all know AI, large language models, sometimes it's very intelligent, but not always, right? So in this case, it's actually funny. They are saying, ambient mesh is a new concept, and it says about networking, mesh points. It's nothing related to like without sidecar or service mesh. Apparently, it just didn't understand what ambient mesh is. The other fun exercise that I wrote is, by the way, this is all running ambient because of the label I had on the default namespace. So what we're going to do is we're going to analyze a picture, which is what Faseela showed, the cover of our book. And we're going to ask the Nava model, which is hosted in Llama, to say, is this picture actually generated by AI? So let's see what it says. It's basically, it didn't try to understand the name of Izzy very well. And it understands it's a children's book. And it actually says, it might be too small for you guys to read. Let me make it a little bit bigger. It actually said it's not possible to confirm if the image is entirely generated by AI or human artist. So AI doesn't really know in this case. And I think Faseela, it was generated by an artist instead of AI, right? If I remember correctly. All right, so we have traffic coming through now. Let's see if we can visualize how the application actually works. So in order to visualize the application, we have Istio collects metrics out of the box without the application needs to do anything. So in this case, I enabled a couple of things. So you can see the traffic comes in from Istio ingress gateway, and there's TCP traffic, there's HTTP traffic. You get metrics associated with those, and these are the last 10 minutes traffic. It comes through the demo application, and through the demo application, we go through the traffic hops through the waypoint. That's on the egress side, and before reaching to the external Llama service running on my laptop outside of my Kubernetes cluster.
This is how Izzy spotted the third pirate through observability.
That's a great point. So this is the observability she was just mentioning. All right, let's see something in security land, because I think that's the most important thing she covered. So in order to see security, I want to show something quickly is, this is my Llama running on my local machine. You can see I have a couple of models already loaded. And one thing I want to do is, if I can remember the command, actually I might have to, I can't remember the command very well, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. So I think it's called Docker, actually 111. Okay, so what we're going to do, this is when search comes handy when you are on stage. So what we are going to do is from the client, which we mentioned it's a curl command, we're going to send a request to a llama and trying to understand what are the models. You can see it has access, right? So not only from my laptop, I can call a llama. From the client running in Kubernetes, I can also call a llama, right? So what if I don't want to enable that function? So what we're going to do together is we're going to deploy an authorization policy. So Faseela talked about identity, right? So in order for the mesh gives each of the pod running in the mesh proper identities through SPIFFE. And with the proper identity, we can establish mutual TLS between the communication among the pod. We can apply authorization policy, not only on simple level, but also on the path level. For instance, in this case, we're saying, in order to access the llama running externally outside of my Kubernetes cluster, by the way, I do have a service entry to that which defines from the cluster I'm allowed to access the llama. I'm going to only allow my demo application and also my RAG application to access, but anybody else wants to access a llama, it can only access through the /get and nothing else. But if the source is the client, if the source is the demo or the RAG principles, then they can access a llama anyhow. So let's go ahead, apply that authorization policy. If I remember, okay, that is the authorization policy we just apply. So with that, I'm going to run the same call through API tags. Now you can see it's already denying access, right? And if I do just on the / without API tags, it discover a llama is running, but it can't do anything besides what I'm allowed to call, specify in the authorization policy. Now let's go back to our demo application. In this case, with the authorization policy, we believe the demo application should continue work. And we should be able to continue to talk to a llama, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the application to my phone. Hopefully it works. And I'm going to take a picture of you guys. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to analyze the mood in the audience and discover if there's anything unusual in the picture. All right. I hope you guys are excited, engaged, see yourself on the stage. All right, what I'm going to do is click on the take the picture, and what's happening is the demo application is going to send a picture to a llama, which has a lava model, which can understand images, and it's going to show what the image is. And let's see, it understands it's in a conference, and it's unfortunately, it was difficult to gauge your expression. I guess you guys are not excited enough. And it complains the picture has a little bit low resolution. All right. All right. So the last thing I want to demo is, remember we couldn't ask a llama what is ambient mesh. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to load a TXT file to ask, so you can see sometimes it can load the TXT file, and sometimes it can't. The reason is I have 2 RAG module service running in my Kubernetes cluster. One of them can understand PDF and TXT, which is version 2. And the version 1 can only understand PDF file. So this is what you are seeing of the behavior of round robin between the two based on the weights in Kubernetes. But Faseela talked about the other function service mesh provide is be able to precisely control the traffic. So let's see how we can do that together. By leveraging Kubernetes Gateway API, what we can do is deploy an object called HTTP route. And in this object, what we're going to say is when the traffic comes in with prefix with slash and onto the RAG service, please route 75% of the traffic to version 1 and 25% of the traffic to version 2. And if there is a header called X rollout canary, always route to version 2. So let's go ahead and deploy this route object. So deploy, I think it's called RAG route, right? Okay, so the route is deployed, and let's see this in action. So if I can type, so what we're going to do is we're going to do, this is not exactly what I want. I want to upload, and this is the one, it doesn't have the control, so you can see it's going to go to, you know, a good percentage, most of the percentage into so we're going to do the dark launching test. If I remember correctly, is it X canary rollout? Let me double check. Sorry, I don't remember the header now. Okay, it's X canary rollout, X rollout. All right, so if we do this, I would expect to always go to the version 2, right? This is what dark launch is for, right? I can guarantee the behavior through traffic shifting. Sorry, my fat finger. So I can guarantee the behavior through traffic shifting to make sure it always hits version 2. And when we are happy with this, we can always go back and delete this and make version 1 to be 0 and make version 2 to be 100%. And then we can deploy this policy to say, you know, I always want to go to version 2. So if that's the case, I don't even need the header, and I do want to go to version 2 100% of the time, which you can see it's happening. All right, so let's see if our RAG module is working. Let's go ahead, upload ambient-mesh.txt. It's working. Now, this is the moment, right? Large language model doesn't understand specific documents or context, so we trained it through RAG. Now, hopefully, hopefully it can find some answer for us. All right, ambient mesh is built on the concept of a traditional service mesh, but with a simpler, lighter architecture that removes the need of the sidecar proxy. Are you pretty happy with that simple description? All right, I think that concludes. Actually, let me show you one more thing. This is the dashboard looks like. So you can see we had some challenging going to RAG version 1, right? Because the upload didn't work. So this is the power of observability that shows you everything that's actually happening, and mutual TLS and the policy enforcement, it's all showing up here, which is pretty nice. That's the power of service mesh without us using any of the sidecars. Prometheus is also running, and you should be able to get the metrics, but given the time, I'm not going to show that. But the Prometheus metric is what's powering the dashboard for us to be able to show what's going on with our application. All right, with that, do we have the books? Does anyone? We do? All right, thank you. Awesome. So I think that concludes the end of our session. If you are interested in getting a copy of our Izzy book for your kid or for yourself, please stay around. We have a limited version of
50 copies?
50 books available for you to get them. So we would love for you to get a copy and take it home.
Signed copy. can sign.
Yeah, we can sign them too. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.